Hey everyone, welcome to Play Hooky with me. My name is Roz, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing how to make this quick and easy corner-to-corner shawl. If you aren't familiar with C2C, I'll link to a video here where I do a step-by-step tutorial with different sizes that you can choose from, but I will also be sharing how to do it in this video as well. Usually C2C creates quite a dense fabric, but I really wanted to lighten it up for this shawl to create a softer drape. So along the way I will be sharing tips and tricks on how to create this effect. As always, there are timestamps along the progress line as well as in the description box below, so you can easily skip to your point of interest. Okay, I think that's about it, so let's play some hooky. The yarn that I decided on this shawl is a Caron Latte cake by Yarnspirations. This is a bulky 5 requiring a 6.5 millimeter hook. It's a blend of acrylic and nylon, and it is so soft and cozy, you guys. I absolutely love this yarn. I think I'm going to be using this more as a scarf than a shawl because it feels so good around the neck. One skein carries 530 yards, and as you can see, I didn't use it all. I kind of went a little bit smaller on the shawl size. Mine is a 23 by 50, so you can definitely go bigger if you want to. I only used 368 yards and I had about 162 left over. So if you want to make a bigger shawl, you definitely can. And while we're talking about the yarn, this leads into my top 3 tips on how I got the softer look with this. Tip number 1 is the yarn choice. I went for something that was very soft and fuzzy, mainly because I wanted it to be soft, of course, but I also like the fact that it kind of camouflages the look of a C2C to give it a little different effect. Tip number 2 is I decided on a larger style of C2C. I call it the classic style. This will make more sense when we get to the tutorial, but it's basically composed of chain 6s and chain 3s. And the most important tip, tip 3, is your hook size. I would recommend that you go up to at least 1.5 to 2 sizes bigger than the required hook size. For example, this yarn required a 6.5 millimeter hook, so I used an 8 millimeter. This little change makes all the difference to the feel and look of your corner-to-corner shawl. Even though I have plenty of this yarn left over to do the tutorial, I think I'm going to pass and do something a little bit more solid. I want you to be able to see the construction of the C2C if you're not familiar with it. This is a DK light worsted weight or sport weight, however you want to refer to it, and it requires a 4 millimeter hook. So I'm going to use a 6 millimeter. Go ahead and put a slip knot on your hook. I'm going to be referring to these squares or blocks as tiles, and we're going to make row after row with these blocks. I'm going to be using a classic style for this. That means I'm going to be using chain 6s and chain 3s to build my tiles. So to begin row 1, chain 6. We're essentially making 4 double crochets. So to begin this, we're going to go into the 3rd chain from the base or the 3rd chain from your hook, however you like to look at it. I prefer to start from the base and count my way up. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to form a double crochet in there. And then do a double crochet in the next 2 chains. Okay, as you can see, you have 4 bars. This is your first tile, and row 1 is completed. We're getting ready to do row 2. So a quick tip here is whenever you begin a new row, you are always going to start with a chain 6. So go ahead and do your chain 6. And just like before, we're going to do 3 double crochets in the first 3 chains on this chain 6. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So that's your first tile for row 2. You're going to have something that looks like this. And what we want to do is we want to join these 2 together. I like to look at this like they're little feet. So we have 2 feet facing the same direction. Take one of your feet and flip it over. Now they're in opposite directions. And all you're going to do is you're going to slip stitch right into that space between those first 2 double crochets to connect it. Now when you're working in the middle like we are now, you're always going to start with a chain 3. You're only going to use chain 6s when you start a new row. Otherwise, you're always going to start with a chain 3. So chain 3, that's going to serve as your first double crochet, and now we need 3 more to finish your tile. So that's a double crochet, another, and another. Okay, and that is row 2 completed. So you have something that looks like this. Row 1, row 2. And this is the point of your shawl. And we're just going to be building up, doing this row after row, the same thing. We're getting ready to work row 3. So we chain 6. We're going to make our 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Okay. We have something that looks like this. We have our feet next to each other, so we need to flip it. Just like that. And you just attach to that bar between those 2 double crochets with a slip stitch. So we're in the middle. We are focusing on chain 3s when we're in the middle. Chain 3. That serves as your first double crochet. 3 more doubles. Now we're going to attach to the tile next to it, just in that little bar area there, with a slip stitch. We need to make 1 more for row 3. So chain 3. 3 double crochets. Great. And that is row 3 completed. Tile 1, 2 tiles, 3 tiles. And that is all you're going to do to build your shawl. You're just going to keep going and going until you get to the width that you want your shawl to be. On the side, chain 6. When you come to the end, you can absolutely leave your shawl like this with these little points, but I wanted it to have a straighter edge, so I decided to do chains in between. Chain 1 and turn, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of these 4 stitches. Now you may prefer a different chain count, but I found that a chain 3 really helped to tighten things up and straighten my edge. If you find that that's making yours too tight, you try a chain 4 instead. But I just do chain 3, slip stitch into that little bar space there like we were doing when we were building the shawl, and then chain 3. And continue this all the way across, just slip stitching into that top bar there of the next point. And then I just continue with a couple of slip stitches inside that bar, and then just a little slip stitch in that final little bar there. And that's all there is to it. And then I'm going to fasten off. But I want to show you what it looks like on the shawl itself. Gives a really lovely straight edge. Creating a tassel is really easy to do. I mean, you can buy a yarn winder, and I'll leave a link in the description box below, but you really don't need anything like that. You just need to find something to wrap around that is the length that you want your tassel to be. For example, my tassels are 4 inches high. You could even use the palm of your hand, but as you can see, mine's only 3 inches in height. So I think I used an external hard drive that I had sitting next to me to wrap around. For this demonstration, I just went ahead and found a paper towel roll, and I'm just going to cut it to the 4 inches like the tassel you see here. And now you're just going to wrap your yarn around and around to make your tassel. My tassel, I did 30 wraps, so if you want yours to be bigger, just increase the amount of wraps, or you want yours to be thinner, reduce the amount of wraps. Okay, and when you're ready, just go ahead and snip it. Next, we want to secure this together, so go ahead and grab another piece of yarn. Just make it quite long. I'm going to do it 2 lengths of my piece here. Okay, I'm just going to thread this through. Make sure to get under all of your loops there. I'm just going to slip that off. Double knot to secure it. Okay, you should have something that looks like this, and now we're just going to snip the bottom to make these loops into a fringe. Okay, we're nearly done. So now we're just going to make the little ball or top to our tassel, looking like that. Grab another stretch of yarn. I'm just going to measure it out again. And then here you can decide how big you want your little top to be. And then I just take the 2 ends. I'm just going to wrap a couple of times around, and then I thread it into the middle. To do this, I just go and I thread one side through a tapestry needle, and I just go into the corner, thread it through, just double knot, and then I take these 2 ends and just weave them in. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. A like is always appreciated. Here are a couple of other videos that I think you might like.